This is the part 11 of digging every corner of Konoha. Hope you like this video guys, enjoy. Chapter 101. Chapter 101. What would happen if Kaguya was released in advance? Really? Orochimaru's hands couldn't help but tremble a little. For an existence like a shinobi, in the later stage, his strength is indeed amazing. For example, although he is not the type of using big moves, he still knows a lot of forbidden techniques, and by summoning Manda, if there is no strong resistance, he can easily destroy a town. And like Jiraiya, throwing out a Sage Art fire release is enough to burn a large area, but Orochimaru feels that these things are garbage compared to what Asahi can do. After all, he's saying that he can blow up the moon, and Orochimaru felt that even with his genius brain, he can't imagine such a scene. If it is possible to the moon, doesn't it mean that Asahi can easily destroy the shinobi world? Why would such an ability appear on a teenage boy? However, as he hasn't seen it with his own eyes, Orochimaru still felt a little disbelief. Of course it's true, but don't think it's very powerful. Just this giant Tensagon, if you can control it, you can also easily destroy this moon. Pay attention, it is destroying, not blowing up, as when the power of this giant Tensagon burst out, you would be able to cut this moon. This level of power may be a little difficult to understand, but it's not completely incomprehensible. Asahi shook his head. In the later stage, the enemy all has the power to destroy the world, but he didn't care anymore. As long as he mastered Zeph's magic encyclopedia and incorporated his power of sunshine into it, he would be the only god in this world. Even without fusing it, he is still invincible. Is that so? It seems Tensagon is really enviable. Then, what are your plans now? Orochimaru also understands that after knowing the existence of this terrifying power, he will only work harder to research, find, and break through, until the Tensagon is created. But ordinary Tensagon is definitely not comparable to this giant Tensagon. At least, if he wanted to destroy the moon, only this giant Tensagon can do it. But regarding Asahi, there are still some doubts if he didn't see it with his own eyes, and he will not completely believe it. After all, this giant Tensagon was created from a lot of people's eyes for so many years, and Asahi is just one person. Plan. After thinking about it, I will continue to stay on the moon for a while, and then maybe we can try to open that thing. Through the skylight, Asahi can see the sphere floating outside at the core position, which is Kaguya's main body. The real seal is on the central sphere. Similarly, this thing is also something that maintains the normal operation of the moon. Of course, after releasing Kaguya, it is not a big problem to use the giant Tensagon to keep the moon running. Asahi also wondered whether to release Kaguya or not. With his silver tongue, it is not too difficult to dig Kaguya into his own village. Asahi kind of understood about Kaguya's situation is. She's like a little woman who doesn't feel safe, and has a strong sense of vigilance. She also has long been feeling inferior to Kinshiki and Momoshiki even with her own strength. Against Kaguya, Naruto and Sasuke, who was given 6 paths yin and yang power, managed to finally seal Kaguya after a long fight. And against Kinshiki and Momoshiki, even if they were fusing, they were beaten by Kyuubi Susanoo once. At that time, neither of them had the ultimate yin and yang release, and their strength have slid out of 6 paths level, but those two were still defeated by Naruto, who teamed up with Sasuke. In the end, they were even killed by Rasengan, which was very shameful. Because of that, as long as Asahi shows strong enough power to let Kaguya know that he can take care of everything, it is not a problem to poach Kaguya, and when Kaguya is poached, then there's no need to say about Black Zetsu. After all, when Obito and Madara tear each other in the original work, Kaguya and Black Zetsu suddenly popped out. Asahi felt a little funny after thinking about the scene, but to prevent Kaguya from doing things, he still took some time to familiarize himself with his new magics to prevent Kaguya's Bakugan from having some power or being able to use the Amenomineka. There are too many types of magic, which are too comprehensive, so it takes him a lot of time to get familiar with it. When the time comes, he will release Kaguya, but Asahi himself finds it a little funny. As he believed that he was probably the only one who dared to dig Kaguya. Are you sure you? Didn't you say that the mother of Sage of 6 Paths was sealed inside? Is it really okay to release her? Orochimaru's eyelids twitched a few times. No problem, Otsutsuki Kaguya's power comes from Jubi. Without Jubi, she is just an empty shell. She may be not easy to deal with, but she is definitely not difficult to deal with. It is not a big problem to release her. But when the time comes, you need to use the giant Tensogun to replace her, otherwise, there will be problems with this moon. Asahi explained. The gravity inside and outside of the moon, etc. all originate from the central seal. Once the seal is broken, if something is not used to replace it, the moon could become useless. You can figure it out yourself. Anyway, you never fight insecure battles, right? Orochimaru said as he didn't want to say much anymore. Regarding Asahi's full digging skills, he was convinced, and if he planned to dig the Mother of Sage of Six Paths, Orochimaru has nothing to say. Then we'll do that. When I'm ready, we'll let her out. Asahi nodded. For this kind of seal, one is the way to remove it is the same as Black Zetsu's, which is to use infinite Tsukuyomi to remove it, but there are also violent releases, just like the sealed Baiju constantly impacting their seal. He can also violently break the seal, as with his power of sunshine, burning the seal is not a problem. After chatting with Orochimaru for a while, Asahi left again and went to test his magic. He would not use all of these magics, like the fire magic has normal fire, dragon fire, god fire, devil fire, and so on. Asahi has just started learning it now, so he can't fuse them into one. This can only be possible after he has fully mastered this ability, so for the time being, it is natural to choose the most practical one to use. He didn't need attack power for the time being, but space, time, control, spirit, seal, etc. are all very useful. If he sets a magic seal, even if people in this world saw it with their own eyes, they wouldn't understand anything, because it is not the system of this world at all, so once he gets his seal, the people in this world won't be able to release the seal except use violent method to break the seal. He won't have the chance to make use of these tricks, but he must still get familiar with these magics and prepare for the future. Creator's thoughts. I am Pugwi. Support me at Patreon. https://www.pat*korean.com/I am Pugwi. Remove the asterisk. There are more than 100 chapter there. Comment. 4 comments. Vote. 1 left. Chapter 102, Chapter 102 Releasing Kaguya. This time, Asahi literally spent 3 months in the moon. He is now 13 years old. It took him 3 months to learn some very good magic that suits him. During this period, what he tried the most is to learn from Zeph and made some demons, but they all ended in failure. His attainment in magic is still too weak, so if he wants to create powerful demons like Tartaros as demons, it is still impossible. However, he can still create trashy little demon, but seeing these little demons, he was speechless to the extreme, so he simply gave up. I'll just wait until I have more mastery in the future before trying it again. If I really create a powerful demon, it can be regarded as a strong guardian for the people around me. This is more realistic than nurturing people. After 3 months, he got used to a lot of magic, after which Asahi found Orochimaru and asked him to get ready. Let's start. I also want to see the appearance of the ancestor of chakra, after all, this is the origin of chakra. Orochimaru's research desire suddenly began to burn. If I can get some of Kaguya's blood, will I be able to study more powerful and terrifying things? When he thinks of this, Orochimaru can't help but tremble with excitement. Let me remind you first, before you can fully grasp it, it is best not to do some strange experiments, otherwise it will be very troublesome if something happens. Asahi looked at Orochimaru's current condition and knew what this guy was thinking. During this period, this guy has often talked about this in front of him. And if he said that if he gets Kaguya's blood, it may really speed up the creation of Tensogun. However, if they are not careful, this guy might create some troublesome things. He didn't want something like Resident Evil or something, as that is the worst, so it is better to remind Orochimaru to take it easy. I know that kind of thing too, you don't need to remind me. Besides, how can there be no risks when studying these things? Moreover, isn't there still you here? With your invincible strength, even if something goes wrong, how can it be a problem? Orochimaru said very simply. Asahi didn't know when, but he found that Uncle Snake has actually learned to find a backer. Obviously, scientists should be very strict, so Asahi can only pray that Orochimaru's research will not go wrong, but based on the original Uncle Snake's situation, Asahi felt that there shouldn't be much problem, but then again, Asahi feels that he should find some assistance for Orochimaru, such as Kabuto. But Kabuto is not easy to control, so he would leave him to Orochimaru to deal with it. Orochimaru will find people himself if he lacks them. Asahi is too lazy to interfere, as Orochimaru's way of being under the control is still okay. After warning Orochimaru, Asahi didn't continue to talk nonsense, but flew directly to the position of the moon's core. Similarly, he still held the giant Tensagon in his hand. Open. A very small ball was formed from blazing white flame and it hit the seal directly. Don't look at its small size, as the power of the sunshine after it was fully mastered was terrifying. The instantaneous burst power of this ball is comparable to Jubi's Bijudama, and Jubi's Bijudama is enough to cause extinction damage in a large area. The terrifying explosion caused the core position to open, and it turned into a meteor and fell to the ground. The power of the seal was also burned by the power of the sunshine cleanly, and Asahi immediately controlled the giant Tensagon to stay in the air. This thing still has some intelligence. If they ignore it and just give it a command, this thing will execute the command forever. Just like the usage in the original work, it needs to be directly controlled, but this thing can be used to continuously push the moon to smash into the Shinobi world. At this moment, the giant Tensagon had replaced Kaguya's seal as the core and maintained the normal operation of the moon. It's done, then, the next step is Kaguya. After Asahi let the giant Tensagon float steadily at the core of the moon, he looked down at his feet, and soon he saw a white figure. In fact, he was very curious at that time, why Kaguya would only continue to grow her hair when she was sealed, which is really weird. Here. Where is this? Kaguya, who had just broken out of the seal, was confused. She has been sealed for thousands of years, so she is confused that she came out. This is the inside of the moon, but you shouldn't be very clear about it. In other words, this is the interior of a small planet created after Hagomoro and Homura sealed you. And I released you from the seal just now. Asahi landed on the ground at this time, looking at Kaguya and said, Hagomoro and Homura's seal. I remember, I was sealed, but who are you? Why did you let me out and how did you do it? Kaguya is now full of doubts. She can detect some chakra from Asahi, but such a little chakra, compared to her at the beginning, is really too much worse. The gap between them is like a drop of water and the water in a lake. My name is Asahi. I am someone from Shinobi World, which is the world developed after Hagomoro's era. As for why I let you out, and how I do it, it's a little troublesome to explain. In short, the seal was violently opened. As for the reason for letting you out, it was to invite you to join the forces I belong to. Asahi didn't know what to say, as there were too many things to say, and he didn't know where to start. Can you tell me more specifically about the forces you belong to? At this moment, Kaguya didn't come out during the Fourth Shinobi World War, so she didn't go crazy, and it's mainly because she didn't have the strength. When she came out during the Fourth Shinobi World War, most of Jubi's power had been integrated into her body, and she was in the Shinobi world, so she knew the specific situation. But now that she was released with no power, and also not in the Shinobi world, she was completely confused. Without much choice, Asahi can only give Kaguya some knowledge, such what Hagoromo and Homura done after she was sealed, as well as the changes in the Shinobi world. Although Asahi is not clear about the specifics, he still knows some general information. Then he also explained the current Shinobi world. As a result, it took a lot of time to finish talking, and after Kaguya heard Asahi's explanation, her temper came up. In fact, if she was changed to Asahi, he would be extremely unhappy. After all, Kaguya's own power has been divided into so many parts. She is obviously using that strength to defend against the foreign enemies, of course, because she is too awkward. Her methods are a bit too extreme. Now that she knows that the future generations have already using her power, but she, the ancestor, has been sealed for thousands of years, she was angry. If it was changed to Asahi, it is estimated that he will also want to destroy the Shinobi world. Of course, she just thought about it. Right now, she only has a little bit of power as protection. For Asahi, this level of combat power is almost nothing. Creator's thoughts. I am Pugwi. Support me at Patreon. https://www.pat*korean.com/I am Poor Guy. Remove the asterisk. There are more than 100 chapter there. Comment. 5 comments. Vote. 1 left. Chapter 103, Chapter 103 Digging Kaguya. You are probably feeling confused or even a little overwhelmed now, and even if you want to get your chakra back, it's a huge problem. After Asahi recounted the situation in the Shinobi world, he looked at Kaguya, who was completely angry and confused, and said, "You know, but why do you dare to let me go out?" Kaguya wondered, as she did need chakra, so she would definitely find a way to get her chakra back in the future, but this person knows these things, so it is a bit strange to let her out. "I am very clear what you're talking about, but if you really can do it, I won't have the confidence to let you out. If you want to regain your strength, you need Jubi, and Jubi is fused from the other Baiju. But now, there are 4 Baiju in our Iwagakure alone, and many of them have a good relationship with me. Do you think you can beat me, who has the power to break your seal? It's not that you could win against me even if you fused with Jubi, let alone now. I know a lot about you. You are defending against the Otsutsuki Clan, right? After all, your clan is indeed a bit special. If someone from the Otsutsuki Clan chases you in the future, it is indeed a great threat to you. Because of excessive worry and lack of security, you started to make white Zetsu, but you are indeed very stupid. Those white Zetsu you made, if I use one move, 100,000 of them will be destroyed easily. I really wonder if you made these white Zetsu as the cannon fodder that you need to protect or to defend against foreign enemies. Your strength was actually very good at the beginning. I know some information about the Otsutsuki Clan. Otsutsuki Kinshiki, Otsutsuki Momoshiki, Otsutsuki Yorashiki, there are 3 people, but none of them are your opponents. You can only blame yourself for being too careful. You obviously have invincible strength, but you have done so many stupid things. It is obviously impossible for you to restore all your power in front of me, but I can help you. If you join our Iwagakure, I will help you block the Otsutsuki Clan who come after you. How is it?" Asahi asked with a smile. In fact, he is now trapping Wolf bare-handed. Momoshiki and the others would come here to find Baiju, that is, the chakra fruit, not Kaguya, so they will definitely be his enemy. Asahi doesn't even have to think about this. If Kaguya can join Iwagakure directly, wouldn't it be better? Why do you know this? Kaguya was puzzled. Of course she is familiar with those names, but she was confused where did Asahi know about it. Although she did leave some records in this world, she did not leave some specific records. No one knows these things, but Asahi directly said these names. At this moment, if it's not for Asahi didn't have any characteristics of the Otsutsuki Clan at all, Kaguya would have doubted whether the person in front of her was someone from the Otsutsuki Clan. Although she is not in her prime, she still has the Bakugan. Don't worry about it. You have eaten the chakra fruit, so the other party will definitely not let you go later, therefore, you need enough strength to protect yourself now, and I have it. I only need you to join our Shinobi village, and that's all. Then, what is your decision? Asahi asked with a smile. Everything else is secondary, and the most important thing is Kaguya's own plans, but she seems to have no other plans. After all, she has been forced to this path. You should know that even I am not clear about the strength of those who come to chase after me. If you only rely on the extremely barren chakra in your body, I think you can't do it. Kaguya shook her head. The chakra in Asahi's body made her fall into extreme suspicion, and she is still a little worried now. After all, she was betrayed by her own sons. Although she herself did a lot of wrongdoings, there were problems on both sides, and his son's problem is undoubtedly bigger. Then, it is simple. It just happens that we are on the moon right now. Come with me, since you doubt my strength, I will let you see how powerful my strength is. Asahi said with a smile. He never lacked something like power. He didn't use chakra, that's why Kaguya couldn't see the essence of his power. Kaguya was also very curious about where Asahi's confidence came from. At the same time, Orochimaru also chased after them. Uncle Snake, your speed is a little slow. After seeing Orochimaru chasing after him, Asahi complained a little. This place is not close to where we were at all, and not everyone is as perverted as you. Also, although the core was replaced by the giant Tensagon in time just now, the laboratory was still affected, and I came here after cleaning up. Orochimaru rolled his eyes at Asahi. Talking about abnormality, Asahi turned out to be the most abnormal. After that, Orochimaru set his attention on Kaguya, and it was the first time that he really saw this ancestor of chakra. His chakra reserve is alright, as the chakra reserve in his body is many times larger than yours. When Kaguya said these words, thick skeptical tone was revealed without modification or processing at all. I don't use chakra. Back then, I learned chakra just for the convenience of doing something. Right now, I don't train my chakra anymore. Asahi said helplessly, and then took the two of them all the way to the big crater that led to the outside. Fortunately, there is oxygen outside the moon, so getting out is not a problem. After leaving the interior of the moon, the direction of gravity directly changed, allowing them to stand directly on the outside of the moon. From here, they can clearly see the Shinobi world. Is that the Shinobi world? Looking at the world under her control at the beginning, it is unknown what Kaguya is thinking at this moment. Asahi guessed that she is constantly feeling emotional. Yes, it is the Shinobi world, but unfortunately, it can no longer be regarded as your back garden, and I will not allow this place to be your back garden. Asahi said calmly. Right now, the Shinobi world can be regarded as his back garden. Although that seems to be a bit problematic to say this, the facts are there. Speaking of which, you also created Black Zetsu to stay and help you out of trouble, right? I will find him later when I have time, but once you appear in the Shinobi world, I estimated that we don't even need to find him, and he will come to us directly. Looking at Shinobi world, Asahi couldn't help but think of a certain Otsutsuki Aloe Black Zetsu. And he felt that the perseverance of this guy is not comparable to ordinary people at all. Creator's thoughts. I am Pugwi. Support me at Patreon. https://www.pat*korean.com/I am poor guy. Remove the asterisk. There are more than 100 chapter there. Comment. 5 comments. Vote. 1 left. Chapter 104. Chapter 104. The sun and the moon come out together. Black Zetsu. He probably has given up too. Otsutsuki Kaguya also remembered Black Zetsu she had created. She didn't know much about Black Zetsu, but she hadn't been released for thousands of years, so she felt that he probably has given up. If you say this, you would have wronged him. He has planned for your freedom for thousands of years. You know, when you made Black Zetsu, you didn't give him any fighting ability, so without combat power, Black could only try to plan everything to release you, and such thing is almost impossible. But this guy is still working hard now, and he's much better than your other two sons. Asahi believed that Black Zetsu is really the #1 filial son in the Shinobi world, and there is really no one that can compare with him. After hearing Asahi's words, Kaguya's face became a lot more complicated. The powerless Black Zetsu persisted for thousands of years, and her other two children, who she desperately wanted to protect that she chose to eat chakra fruit, sealed her, and then throw her away. Hearing what Asahi and Kaguya said, Orochimaru's face is filled with black lines, and he doesn't know what to say anymore. He listens to all the myths they are talking about, but he doesn't understand, and was completely stunned. Forget it, let's not talk about this. You can learn more about it later. Right now, let me show you my full strength. Regarding my own full strength, I am also very curious about it. After all, from the time I gained this strength to now, I have never burst out with all my strength, and now, it is not just as simple as using full force. As Asahi said that, the white flames all over his body rose rapidly, forming a huge scorching white flame on the moon. This power has completely surpassed the limit of the limit, and even it is even much more terrifying than the one in 7 Deadly Sins world. Immediately afterwards, a large number of flames continued to rush toward his hands, and gradually formed a sphere. The sphere began to absorb the continuous flames from the size of the marble and expanded even more. Soon, the diameter of the sphere has surpassed 100 meters. This is already the most solar power that Asahi can mobilize at one time. It must be known that the sphere with the diameter of 1 centimeter is already enough to destroy Kaguya's seal, and this sphere's diameter is more than 100 meters. The temperature alone has already caused the surrounding space to be torn apart with small cracks appearing. This power has already exceeded the capacity of the space. As for Orochimaru and Kaguya, they have already run far away, but even if they don't run, Asahi can control his own power to protect them, otherwise, they will be completely burnt just by getting close to him. After the huge sphere was formed, Asahi threw it sharply, and the sphere instantly turned into a stream of light and disappeared. At this moment, the surface of the moon around Asahi has already melted into a large pit. If he hadn't threw it quickly, it would be burned to inside the moon, and this is still the result of control. The blazing white sphere continuously shot towards the distance at a terrifying speed. The distance was still too close, so Asahi did not dare to detonate it directly. Can't it detonate? After the sphere was flying for almost a few minutes, Orochimaru asked with some doubts. It can, but as this is also my first time using this much power, it's better to let this thing fly further. Asahi said. This thing is too powerful, so he chose to play it safe. After another few minutes, Asahi felt that it should be enough, and he directly detonated the huge sphere. His control of the power of the sunshine has completely surpassed even male, and it is because of the production of the system. Asahi feels that his power of the sunshine is getting more and more terrifying, and after the magic power is added, it is even more stronger. It is also because the magic power is added that Asahi wonders whether to let the sunshine and other magic directly fuse, thus breaking through to a higher level. In fact, this is the first time Asahi has used such a big move like this. The main reason for doing this is to show the ultimate destructive power in front of Kaguya, otherwise, he doesn't need to work so hard. After all, this kind of big move is not suitable for use against the enemy, and it is estimated that his own people would be annihilated. After Asahi detonated the sphere, a terrifying light suddenly appeared in the space, and the giant sphere, which had flown for an unknown distance, suddenly exploded, and there's as if another giant sun appeared in the universe in an instant. At the same time, the Shinobi world, which is already at night, was directly illuminated at the moment when the sun appeared. It was obviously night, but it was no different from the daytime. It was not uncommon for the sun and the moon to be in the sky together, but when it was dark at night, a sun appeared, and the entire Shinobi world was illuminated. This is not a small problem, and it is also not common. How is it possible? It's not the power of chakra, what's that? Kaguya, who is on the moon at the moment, is also completely lost. Asahi is not using chakra's power, but this power is so powerful that after Asahi released it, she realizes that it is too scary. Was she able to do such a thing even in her peak? If her ability tends to be a comprehensive type, then Asahi's is the ultimate destructive power of the sun. Now I finally believe it, you do have the power to blow up the moon under our feet, and even if you directly blow up the Shinobi world, I won't feel too surprised now. Orochimaru couldn't help but swallowed his saliva. He estimated that the only one who could scare him like this is Asahi. You didn't believe it, did you? Asahi looked at Orochimaru speechlessly, while Orochimaru was annoyed. After all, if someone said in front of you that he could blow up a planet, would you believe them? He subconsciously believed it when he first heard it, but when he thought about it afterwards, he suddenly felt that it was not right. But now that he saw it, his three views have officially broken. Forget it, I won't talk to you about this. Kaguya, how is it? Do you think those guys from the Otsutsuki Clan can stop this power? Asahi looked at Kaguya, and Kaguya slowly recovered from the shock. I believe it, you do have a very terrifying power. At least, I can't do such a thing even in my heyday. Kaguya feels that her mouth is bitter. After all, if there is such a strong person, why should she need to do so many things? If she doesn't do so many things, she won't be sealed. Of course, it is too late to regret it. After all, Asahi didn't appear in her era, so Kaguya has no other choice. At this moment, Asahi also has great confidence in the future fusion. His sunshine's power has exceeded the limit of the original sunshine, and as his other power becomes stronger, the energy of this power will also fuse and become stronger, and then he would just need to think of a way to fully fuse the two powers. At that time, he would be a real Star Destroyer level powerhouse. After all, there is also a gap in the Star Destroyer level. Destroying an asteroid is a Star Destroyer level, and blowing a sun is also a Star Destroyer level, but the two are not of the same order of magnitude, so Asahi is not satisfied with the status quo. In many worlds, although he can't be called a trash, he is definitely not a tough guy. Creator's thoughts. I am Pugwi. Support me at Patreon. https://www.pat*korean.com/I am poor guy. Remove the asterisk. There are more than 100 chapter there. Comment. 3 comments. Vote. 1 left. Chapter 105. Chapter 105 With a wife, sage of 6 paths forget his mother. Because her strength in her heyday was no more than Asahi, Kaguya also gave up the unrealistic idea of regaining her power, and joined Iwagakure. With Asahi guarding it, that would be enough. She no longer has to worry about being hunted down by those guys. But Asahi won't let her go so easily. Regarding Kaguya, Asahi doesn't actually have any thoughts, mainly because of the aesthetics are different. Asahi thinks that the girls in the Shinobi world are more beautiful than Kaguya, so he didn't have any thoughts of Kaguya at all. But Kaguya is always a strong person. Although she has no combat experience, and Jubi's power cannot be fully returned to her, Asahi knew that combat skill can be trained. As for her strength, the Baiju can each separate a part of their power to form a pseudo-Jubi. Although this pseudo-Jubi is not as good as the real Jubi, but with a large number of Shinobi world's chakra, pushing Kaguya to her peak may not be possible, but 60% to 70% is no problem. The chakra circulating in the Shinobi world now does not entirely originate from Kaguya. After Kaguya was sealed, the first people to use chakra were Hagoromo and Hamura, who planted the seeds of chakra. After that, the seeds took root and sprouted, and then passed on to the next generation. That's how the current Shinobi world appeared. Now, Kaguya's chakra is at most a seed. If the amount of Kaguya's chakra was 100 in the past, the chakra in the Shinobi world now is 370, which has surpassed Jubi by at least 3 times. This is the result of continuous evolution, so it is not impossible to restore Kaguya's strength to at least 60 to 70%, which is enough for Kaguya to return to the level of 6 paths. Although she is weaker than her peak, she is still much better than the others. Of course, that's another story. Right now, Kaguya is staring at Hamura's grave. What's wrong? How do you feel when you see your son's tomb? Speaking of which, your son Hamura is indeed a little unlucky. After Asahi said this sentence, Kaguya turned her gaze and looked at Asahi with some doubts. This sentence made her a little confused. Why did he say that my son was unlucky? Hamura actually had no conflict with you at first. The reason why Hagoromo chose to seal you is not all because of righteousness, but because you killed his wife. No, it is still too early to call his wife. You killed the person he liked. When you made White Zetsu, you only knew that you would blindly use people from the Shinobi world to make them, but you completely ignored the people your 2 sons are very close with in the Shinobi world, especially that guy Hagoromo. He fell in love with a person, and you don't know these, and used that person directly to make White Zetsu. That's why Hagoromo will try to defeat you later. This is most of the reasons, and a small part is for the so-called Shinobi world, but this part is very small. Believe it or not, if you didn't use the person he likes at that time, the situation would be different. So Hagoromo is a classic example of having a wife and forgetting his mother. You also have big problems with yourself, so there are problems on both sides. I said that Hamura was unlucky because he didn't know what was going on. Hagoromo was planning to deal with you because the person he liked died, and after you noticed all this, you directly controlled Hamura. Hamura almost died because you controlled him to fight Hagoromo, but Hagoromo later healed him and awakened his Rinnegan. Hamura was sandwiched between the 2 of you. Later, he thought that his brother's frustration, and the scene of you controlling him before, so she chose to go against you and you were finally sealed. After that, Hamura went to the moon because he felt your fear of the Otsutsuki clan from that time, but you are too stupid as you don't know how to talk about this kind of thing with your own sons. If you said it at that time, Hamura would definitely help you deal with Hagoromo, so he was caught in the middle and confused. Isn't it bad luck? Later, his descendants didn't know what was going on and misunderstood what he left behind. After things happened, all of his descendants died, that's why I said he was unlucky. Asahi explained. As for Hagoromo, to be honest, Asahi is a little thankful to him. After all, if this guy doesn't do things, the current Shinobi world won't have appear, and if the current Shinobi world didn't appear, would it still be interesting for him to cross over here? But from Kaguya's point of view, Hagoromo is really a classic example of having a wife and forgetting his mother. However, Kaguya was also very idiotic at that time. In short, everyone had a little bit of blame on them. Is it true that Hagoromo rebelled against me for this? Kaguya herself suddenly felt that it is a little ridiculous. Comparing Hagoromo with Black Zetsu, one was her flesh and blood that she gave born to, but he tried his best to seal her, and the other was an existence she created casually, but insisted on the unscrupulous desire to unseal her for thousands of years. Sure enough, the one who is born is not necessarily good. In the end, after staying on the moon for a few more days, Asahi planned to return to the Shinobi world, and Kaguya also used her super abilities in these few days to directly learn a lot of ninjutsu. After all, she is still the ancestor of chakra. Although she is estimated to be just at the genin level in terms of using her power, she still learns very quickly. Asahi asked her to directly use transformation technique to change her appearance. After all, with her appearance, wherever she went, she would be too conspicuous. Let's go first. In addition, you can take your time with these bloods. If you have any problems, find me immediately. Before Asahi left, he still warned Orochimaru not to do anything dangerous. Kaguya's blood has already been given to him. Originally, this guy planned to ask for Asahi's blood, but he was rejected directly. How can he do that? His blood can't be given casually after all. Let's not say whether Orochimaru can research anything or not. If Orochimaru really researches something that Asahi can't handle, then Asahi will be the one to suffer. He can still handle Kaguya, but his own. Don't even think about it. I know, I will look for you as soon as I got something. Orochimaru felt that his ears were getting calluses, and there was nothing he could do about it. In the past few days, Asahi talked about this too much, and he was helpless. As a scientist, he also knows that there might be problems, but there is no need to say that repeatedly. In fact, Orochimaru still doesn't know about Resident Evil, otherwise, he won't feel that Asahi was long-winded. It's okay if the created things don't spread through the air, but if they spread through the air, then it will be at the level of destroying the world. This kind of biological thing, even if Asahi is blamed for talking too much or not to trust him, but Asahi felt that he must be vigilant. After all, this is Kaguya's blood, not someone else's, so the level of concern is naturally different. Creator's thoughts. I am Pugwi. Support me at Patreon. https://www.pat*korean.com/I am Pugwi. Remove the asterisk. There are more than 100 chapter there. Comment. 6 comments. Vote. 1 left. Chapter 106, Chapter 106 bringing Kaguya back to Iwagakure. Kaguya, can you still contact Black Zetsu and White Zetsu now? After leaving the moon, Asahi asked. White Zetsu and Black Zetsu were indeed all created by Kaguya, but it's a question of whether she can still contact them now. No problem, although the strength in my body has not been fully restored, there is no problem with contacting White Zetsu or Black Zetsu, or even summoning the demonic statue of the outer path. Kaguya said. Although she doesn't have Jubi, it doesn't mean that she doesn't have chakra at all. She has both Rinnegan and Bakugan, so such things can still be done. That's good, then inform Black Zetsu and White Zetsu, and ask them to come and see you. Asahi nodded and said. Now that he has dug Kaguya, he would be able to Black Zetsu and White Zetsu. After all, they are a huge intelligence network. With their help, the entire Shinobi world is actually in Asahi's eyes, no one can hide from him. Hearing Asahi's statement, Kaguya did not refuse. After all, she really hopes to meet Black Zetsu. Compared to her other sons, this created son is undoubtedly better. Soon, Kaguya passed the message to White Zetsu and Black Zetsu, which was like a huge intelligence network, and at this moment, Black Zetsu, who was thinking about what to do afterwards, suddenly had his face changed. Is this a fake? Black Zetsu felt that his body was trembling a little. After all, he actually received Kaguya's message. What is the situation? Ariria, this is Kaguya-sama's message. Has Kaguya-sama already broken the seal? Wait, if you wanted to act, can you at least tell me something at first, so that I can be prepared? Shut up. Before White Zetsu could finish speaking, Black Zetsu silences him. In this regard, Black Zetsu is also quite helpless. White Zetsu originally talked a lot, and he didn't care so much before, but now that he is agitated, White Zetsu keeps pushing him like this, so he is not happy. Shut up. Just shut up, let me think about it first. White Zetsu shut up very aggrievedly, and Black Zetsu was too lazy to say something, but soon they received another message. Why she ordered us to go to Iwagakure. What is mother doing in Iwagakure? Once again, they received a message telling them to go directly to Iwagakure. Black Zetsu and White Zetsu were a little confused about this, but they still followed the order. Asahi also took Kaguya away directly, and although Kaguya still has some strength, it's too weak. Without huge energy support, she is a real weakling, so Asahi simply took Kaguya and leave with space magic directly. Although what he currently masters would only allow him to teleport for short distance, he can use it many times. If what he got at the beginning was Zeph's magic encyclopedia, the power in his body is definitely not enough to use teleport for a few times, but at the beginning, what he got is sunshine, and the energy from sunshine is too strong, so after he fused it, he almost has an endless source of energy. As for chakra, before he got the magic encyclopedia, he kept chakra just in case. But now, chakra is useless, so Asahi controlled this energy and slowly devoured his chakra. Perhaps because it was not from the system, fusing chakra was much more difficult than fusing his 2 power. However, it is not without progress. In a few more months, there will be no such thing as chakra in his body anymore. As for ninjutsu, he doesn't care anymore. He even has time magic, and whatever chakra could do, he could do it with magic too, so he decisively throws it away. Even with Kaguya, 1 second was enough for Asahi to teleport dozens of times. He constantly used space magic to move, and from the passage located in the territory of the Land of Fire back to Iwagakure, it took a total of half a day. That speed is pretty good. If it wasn't because he hasn't mastered magic well enough, he would be able to do it instantly. In the later stage, he estimated that he could teleport from the Shinobi world to the moon in an instant. You have a very good spatial ability, but the distance is a bit too short. In the end, after coming to Iwagakure, Kaguya's evaluation of this space movement is basically perfect, but the distance is too short. It's indeed a bit too short, but I'm just getting started, so it's normal that it's a bit worse than a big boss like you. Asahi hasn't forgotten that Kaguya's space-type ultimate move, Amanomineka, which would directly transform the world or something, is indeed too much. Kaguya can also use this technique now, but it consumes too much. All of her pupil techniques are all there, but she can't use it mainly because her chakra is not enough. With Black Zetsu's foot strength, it does not take long for him to run to Iwagakure. Mayfly is indeed a very powerful technique in terms of movement. And that's the reason Black Zetsu did not take too long to run from one battlefield to another. But in the end, it would still take him several days to arrive from such a distance. Let's go, let me introduce you to the people in our village. They are all very good people. I personally think you should change your lifestyle. You will definitely love this village. Unlike the past, the current Iwagakure does not have the situation of the past. More than 1,000 years ago, the era was completely ancient, and the current Iwagakure has already begun to leap into the technological era, and various cultures have also developed colorfully. Asahi estimated that Kaguya will like the life here soon. After a few months, it is now Konoha's year 49. Soon after, Asahi took Kaguya to find Onaki, and then asked Onaki to summon all their people. There are a few strong people in the village, such as Konga and Roshi, who have a good relationship with him, and the others are Tsunade and the others. Soon, many people appeared in the office. So, this time you went out and bring a woman back. At this moment, Kushina's gaze looking at Asahi is a little dangerous. In this period of time, she was being stalked by Mai almost every day. For the sake of Yin Seal, Mai directly launched a sugar-coated cannonball-type offensive against Tsunade and Kushina. And it's good to be respected, so in a few months, they were directly captured and became good sisters. In fact, Mai did not like Asahi so easily, but at most, she felt a little curious and admired him a little. That's all. But Tsunade and Kushina made a mistake. They thought that Mai fell in love with Asahi, so they eventually accepted this so-called sister. This can't be their fault, after all, every time Asahi goes out, he brings a girl back, isn't it a bit too much? You think too much, this. I'm not interested in her, and she has a big background. Asahi naturally didn't know the misunderstanding of Kushina and the others, but regarding Kaguya, he really had no thought at all. Creator's thoughts. I am Pugwi. Support me at Patreon. https://www.pat*korean.com/I am poor guy. Remove the asterisk. There are more than 100 chapter there. Comment. 6 comments. Vote. 1 left. Chapter 107, Chapter 107 Shocking the People. It's good if you don't have any interest, but what do you mean her background is big? No matter how big it is, how big could it be? Kushina said indifferently. As long as Asahi didn't find a good sister for her so quickly, the others are secondary. Damn, where did this kid find this woman? Kushina didn't care, but at this moment, Kyuubi, who is in her body, complained directly. After all, this is Kaguya. Although she is using transformation technique, the Kyuubi's perception was not bad, so he directly complained. Kurama, what's wrong with you? Did she really have a big background? Why are you so shocked? Kushina looked at Kyuubi suspiciously, as Kyuubi was a bit too loud. Her background is indeed quite big, but what the hell was this kid thinking by letting this woman out? At this moment, Kyuubi starts to become somewhat alert. After all, now that this woman was released, he estimated that Asahi was about to seize his chakra. But just after Kyuubi said this, there was one more person in front of him and Kushina. Part of the chakra split from Jubi. Your name is Kurama. Don't worry, I won't take all the chakra from you Baiju, and I now do not need to pursue powers too much, as I already have a shelter. At this moment, Kaguya has directly used Rinnegan's pupil power to enter Kushina's body, and said to Kurama that according to the agreement with Asahi, Asahi has given her his protection, so she naturally would not try to trouble these Baiju. Is what you said true? Kurama looked at Kaguya with a complicated expression. Kurama still knows a little about Asahi, so he knows that Asahi is not the kind of person who likes to go back on his words, and Kaguya explained it personally, so he feels that there's no need to worry too much. Yes, I have already discussed it with him, so you don't need to worry about these things. After saying that, Kaguya left directly, and the same scene was also played out in Roshi's body. In the end, Yonbi and Kyuubi were a bit speechless. They were almost scared to death just now, but fortunately, it was just a false alarm. Who the hell is that woman? Kurama, why are you so afraid of her? Seeing Kurama, who had become very cowardly, Kushina asked curiously. How can you say this uncle is scared of her? What a joke. As for her identity, just listen to the kid's explanation yourself. After Kyuubi finished speaking, he kicked Kushina out directly. Regarding this, Kushina also had several black crosses on her forehead. Isn't this my body? Why can Kurama kick me out again and again? Kushina then vowed in her heart, this matter is not over, I will go to Kyuubi to finish this. But at this moment, she is more curious about Kaguya's identity. She's Sage of Six Paths mother, known as Otsutsuki Kaguya, who was previously sealed by Sage of Six Paths. I released her incidentally, and now she has joined our Iwagakyo. Asahi briefly introduced Kaguya. However, the whole room was terribly quiet at this moment. It is estimated that a needle dropping on the ground can be heard very clearly. Sage of Six Paths. Bewildered, everyone's expressions all turned strange. Although Asahi has told some people about the secrets of the Shinobi world, but they didn't think too much, but now, this old antique that existed more than 1,000 years ago appeared in front of them, so of course they are dumbfounded. At the same time, Kaguya also lifted the transformation technique and directly turned into her original appearance. At this time, Kaguya's appearance was really far from humans. Not to mention her scary white skin, the blood-red Rinnegan on her forehead is even more scary, and there are also horns on her head, so she is obviously different from normal people. Bakugan. The two people from the Hyuga clan were shocked when they saw Bakugan, as they did see the Bakugan on Kaguya's face. Bakugan. Are you the descendants of Hamura? And the two little girls over there are descendants of Hagoromo. I didn't expect to see their descendants here. Kaguya has actually discovered that Kushina is from the Uzumaki clan, and Tsunade is from the Senju clan, Senju Hikaru is also from the Senju clan, and the Hyuga brothers are from Hyuga clan. And they are all descendants of Hagoromo and Hamura. What is she talking about? The people, who were named, were a little confused. Hagoromo is Sage of Six Paths. As for Hamura, he is the brother of Sage of Six Paths, and the ancestor of the Hyuga clan is Hamura, and they inherited Kaguya's Bakugan. Senju, Uzumaki and Uchiha clans are descendants of Hagoromo, and they inherited the Sharingan, Rinnegan, and Sage body. Asahi explained a little bit, and the others were stunned when they heard this. When they thought that their ancestors turned out to be legendary figures, they felt a little bewildered. Okay, I will explain these things to you in detail later. As for now, I just wanted to inform you guys that Kaguya will join our Iwagakure, and only you can know about her identity. So don't disclose to others. Asahi reminded everyone. Don't worry, we won't talk about this kind of thing casually. Those who were summoned said, as this is indeed something that can't be said to others. Then, Kaguya will live in the Hyuga clan in the future. She is the ancestors of your Hyuga clan, so remember to take good care of her. In terms of Bakugan, although Kaguya's combat experience is not comparable to you, but in terms of some abilities and purity, you can't compare with her. In fact, Asahi has already talked to Kaguya about Tensogun. Kaguya does not have the Tensogun, as the development of Bakugan was ignored by the Otsutsuki clan from the beginning. However, Hamura, who only has Bakugan, developed another trick. And if Hamura can develop Tensogun, it is naturally also possible for Kaguya. After knowing the concept of Tensogun, Kaguya has begun to evolve her own Bakugan, and according to Kaguya's own estimation, it won't take long for her to develop it, and she can transform Bakugan into Tensogun in at most 1 year. It can only be said that the bloodline is really important. Well, just like Hagoromo awakened Rinnegan, people of the later generations can only awaken their eyes after 1 stimulation, and it will be lucky if they are able to awaken Mangekyo after the 2nd stimulation. As for Hagoromo, 1 stimulation is indeed no problem to reach Mangekyo, and the 2nd stimulation directly evolved his eyes to Rinnegan. And for Kaguya, after knowing that Bakugan can still be transformed, she started it, and she can develop and evolve it independently. Once Tensogun is awakened, plus that small part of Jubi, it is estimated that her strength would be no less than her heyday, or even beyond. After all, Tensogun is indeed powerful, and it depends on when Kaguya can awaken it. Creator's thoughts. I am Pugwi. Support me at Patreon. https://www.pat*korean.com/I am Remove the asterisk. There are more than 100 chapter there. Comment. 6 comments. Vote. 1 left. Chapter 108. Chapter 108. Just wait. Because Kaguya can evolve Tensogun independently, Asahi let her stay in the Hyuga clan. After that, Hinata and Hanabi might be able to take advantage of the power of Kaguya to awaken Tensogun without changing eyes. Of course, Asahi is not very clear whether it will work, it depends on whether Kaguya can do it afterwards. But it doesn't matter if she can't do it. Asahi still has the crazy technology climbing Orochimaru. With Kaguya's blood, as long as Orochimaru doesn't cause any world-annihilating accidents, with his ability, it is feasible to figure out the evolution method of Tensogun. As for Bakugan, with the cloning technology, Bakugan is no longer a problem. They want as much as they want, so it can be said that technology is still very powerful, but not everyone can be the same as Orochimaru. Of course, Uchiha Shin was an accident. In this way, Kaguya directly lived in the Hyuga clan. After all, she also has a pair of Bakugan, so everyone can accept her. It is indeed good for her to live there, as the people from the branch house are different from the main house's members, and they are very kind to others. Moreover, during this period, Hayashi's daughter, Hinata was born, and the Konoha 11 are completely born, but now, it is a huge problem whether they can form the Konoha 11. Old man, is the war over yet? Because Asahi is on the moon, he doesn't know the current situation in the Shinobi world very well. It's over, Konoha right now is only doing a symbolic resistance. That guy Jiraiya is not simple. It can be said that right now, he is the strongest in Konoha in terms of combat effectiveness, not counting other things. The Sage mode you mentioned is indeed very special. After Jiraiya uses Sage mode, he can easily play with Hakibi, and the enemy won't get much advantage even if other people participate in it. 1 month after you left, Konoha had already surrendered without much struggle, but I also followed what you said. After the 2 villages finished fighting Konoha, our Iwagakure directly intercepted the 2 villages. You didn't see it, but during the negotiation, the faces of the people in those 2 villages were very ugly. But I didn't rush to kill them. I only collected 2/3 of the meat they snatched from Konoha's mouth, and there is still a little left for them. This is already giving them a lot of face. Onaki couldn't help but laughed when he said this. He remembered the expressions of her and Rosa at that time. They finally caught the opportunity to get some meat from Konoha, but as a result, they were cut off by another group of people as soon as they came out. This time, they earn very little profit. Although Iwagakure left 1/3 to them, they also need money for marching and fighting. Although it is not a loss, it is really too little profit for these 2 villages. If they knew this would happen, they won't have come out and do something like this. But they couldn't take Iwagakure as their opponent, so for the sake of their own village, they didn't dare to jump over the wall. With only 1/3 left, of course they didn't dare to say anything and choose to take it away directly. Asahi feels that Onaki is still a bit too kind. Although it is also to prevent the 2 villages from jumping over the wall, but as long as they are not threatening their villages, they won't dare to jump. At most, their hatred value will increase a little more. But right now, Asahi estimated the hatred value is already full, so even if it was increased again, where can it be increased? You boy is really ruthless, but it's also already enough. Now that you're already back, do you have any plans next? Onaki asked. There is no plan, there is actually nothing to do next. We'll just wait for the Uchiha clan to ask for help, and then dig the Uchiha clan over, and the rest only be continued after the Uchiha clan has been dug out. Asahi said as there is really nothing to do. Kirigakure has already been dug up, and they can't dig Kumogakure. For Konoha's Uchiha clan, they must also let Sundame and Danza join forces to corner them, but now that Konoha has just lost a lot, Danza probably wouldn't dare to touch the Uchiha clan in a short time, so he needs to wait. After the Uchiha clan was poached, he'll find a way to kill Sundame, and then Danza will definitely be in power. At that time, if he does things crazily, he can continue to dig. As for Tsunegakure, it seems that there is nothing to dig from them, but there is still one Pakura. But the problem is, now that Kirigakure is all over the place, there's no way Pakura would be sent by Rosa as a political sacrifice, so it is difficult to dig Pakura, but of course, it is not impossible. It depends on how powerful Pakura can show. Pakura uses the Scorch release. Once her potential is too strong, she will definitely be a threat to Rosa. Rosa is now sitting in the Kazekige's position and it would have been unstable if it wasn't for the fact that no one else could take over. Therefore, if Pakura's talent is strong enough, then sooner or later, she will become the thorn in Rosa's eyes, and it is estimated that Rosa will find a way to kill Pakura. Of course, these are only Asahi's own guesses now, as he is not clear about the details. He needs to wait until the arrival of White Zetsu and Black Zetsu. Once White Zetsu and Black Zetsu arrive, he can deploy the intelligence network to the entire Shinobi world. This information network can be very useful. When Rosa and the others make a decision, Asahi can receive the news as soon as possible. At that time, is there any need to worry? The Uchiha clan. I don't know how long they can hold on. Onaki couldn't help but scratched his head. He felt that the Uchiha clan is indeed quite strong, as they don't come to ask for help even until now. It is estimated that the preparations have already begun. It will not take decades. After a few years, after things have settled down, Danza will definitely start with the Uchiha clan. At that time, we just need to prepare to accept the refugees and it will be over. Asahi smiled and said, as he knew that Fugaku is not simple at all. It is estimated that a decision has already been made in the past. If there is still a war, Fugaku is estimated to still have certain illusions, but once things settle down, he has to make a decision. So right now, Asahi estimated that Fugaku is already picking those who can leave with him. Asahi has already said to him at the beginning, that he doesn't want the disobedient ones, but most of the Uchiha clan's members are the kind of disobedient. Okay, I'll go back first. If there's nothing, we'll just wait. After saying that, Asahi left directly. Right now, he is just waiting for Black Zetsu and White Zetsu to automatically come to his door in a few days. Creator's thoughts. I am Pugui. Support me at Patreon. https://www.pat*korean.com/I am Pugui. Remove the asterisk. There are more than 100 chapter there. Comment. 4 comments. Vote. 1 left. Chapter 109. Chapter 109. Excited Black Zetsu. A few days later, Asahi is living a life like a salted fish at home, but soon, in his perception, there are 2 life forms directly appeared from the ground. Asahi's perception magic is different from those that can only perceive chakra. He used these few days to set up a simple sensor magic barrier in the village. Basically, he knows everyone who comes in. In addition to the extremely high attainments in magic, Zeph also has various ideas that are also very powerful: the eclipse gate that allows people to travel through time, the face that can destroy the magic of a world, and the tower of heaven that can resurrect people. These things are all from the hands of Zeph, and the perception magic barrier he set up is actually very rough, but magic and chakra are 2 different systems, so he can easily detect the hidden chakra. Knowing that White Zetsu and Black Zetsu had arrived, Asahi went straight out and used space magic to came to the Hyuga clan directly. It seems that your perception ability is also very strong. They were discovered by you just when they came in. You too can come out. Kaguya didn't feel surprised when she saw Asahi, who came over. After all, Asahi did have too many special abilities. After her voice fell, half white and half black guy dressed in red cloud robes with a black background, and with a pitcher plant on both sides of his head appeared. Mother, you really broke through the seal. That's great. Black Zetsu was very excited, but after another thought, he felt that he was too trashy. After all, his mother was not rescued by himself, but by an outsider. It's all because of him. He directly violently broke the seal that sealed me, but these years have been really hard for you. Later, I will find ways to perfect your body. At least, I need to create a complete body for you. Although she didn't give birth to Black Zetsu is still someone she made, and she really has nothing to say to the other party. After all, he is completely a super filial son. Mother. At this moment, Black Zetsu almost cried out directly. He was so touched when he heard Kaguya wanted to help him, as it means that she really thought of him as her son. Before this, he is not considered biological, so he still has a guilty conscience by calling her mother, but now that he is recognized, it is enough. Kaguya-sama, can you stop ignoring me? Ignoring me will make me feel bad. At this time, White Zetsu spoke up, but as soon as this guy opened his mouth, this warm picture was directly destroyed. Regarding this, Black Zetsu was also very angry, but thinking of White Zetsu's character is so, what else could he do? White Zetsu, from now on, besides me, you also need to follow his instructions. Kaguya directly shared the command of White Zetsu with Asahi, which is what Asahi always wanted. Is that so? Then, I would like to ask Asahi-sama to take care of me in the future. Speaking of which, I have many clones that have been wiped out by Asahi-sama. Suddenly, White Zetsu reminded about the past. We used to be an enemy, but I won't destroy you now. Moreover, it's just a few clones, don't you have 100,000 clones? Asahi is also a little speechless about White Zetsu, as this guy is really talkative. Even if it's a clone, it's still me, so it's too much to say that. White Zetsu said helplessly. I'll be stupid to trust you. Then, I want you to help me keep an eye on the Akatsuki and several other Shinobi villages Kage, and report their decisions to me in time. Asahi is too lazy to talk with White Zetsu, as this guy is too talkative and said a lot of nonsense. Yes, Asahi-sama. White Zetsu knew that he couldn't say anything more, so he simply shut up. Mother, although you have broken through the seal, but what about the Baiju? Black Zetsu suddenly felt a headache. His mother was blessed and joined Iwagakure, but the problem came, how would they capture Baiju? After all, Iwagakure alone had 4 Baiju, so if Kaguya wanted to regain her power, it'll be very difficult. I have found other ways. As long as Bakugan evolves into Tensagon, my strength will be restored, and then we will extract a part of the Baiju's chakra to let Jubi restore some strength, so that my strength will also be restored. At that time, I won't be weaker than before. Kaguya said, as Asahi had already thought about the way for her. No, not all Baiju will only take a part. Nibi, Sanbi, Rokubi, Nanabi and Hakaibi, these few have no relationship with me, so we can still collect them. Asahi said as these Baiju have nothing to do with him. As for Shukaku, they Baiju don't care about other Baiju too much, and everyone has their own positions. For example, Hakaibi, he and Killer Bee are friends, and Killer Bee is Asahi's mortal enemy. Then the question comes, if Asahi goes to Hakaibi and asks for a part of chakra, will he give it to him? As for the amber purifying pot that had been used to seal Hakaibi was also already destroyed and was useless. So with Hakaibi, there is nothing to say, and the same is true for the Nibi, who will definitely hostile. As for the other Baiju, Sanbi also has a grudge against him. And the last two, Rokubi and Nanabi, these two have not been in contact with him. As for digging them out, it is not impossible, but Utakata's temper is not very good. As for Fu, Asahi couldn't understand her at all. And he doesn't think he can dig people from Takegakyo. After all, why do people have to join their Iwagakyo? Not every village has some weakness he can use to dig people. Therefore, he was too lazy to touch these few, so he used Akatsuki directly to get rid of the Baiju. In this case, I will postpone the matter of my body. After the matter is settled, I will notify you after these Baiju are taken away, and then help Mother get back some of her power. Well, Black Zetsu is not in a hurry to have a real body. At this moment, he feels that he is a little depressed and guilty for not releasing his mother, so he must do something. Alright, help me keep an eye on Obito. As for Uchiha Madara, there is no need for him to come out in the future, even if he comes out, I'll clean him up at the time. In fact, Asahi thinks it is difficult for Madara to come out this time. After all, Orochimaru, who has the perfect impure world reincarnation, is already on his side. As for Kabuto, it depends on the situation. And if this technique is not spread, how can Madara resurrect? So Asahi thought that Madara's plan felt like he's taking everything for granted. After all, Madara was still completely dependent on Black Zetsu. How would he know that Black Zetsu was actually the person controlling him from behind? As for Black Zetsu's body, he'll give it to Orochimaru, and use Kaguya's cells to create a body that is not too problematic. Creator's thoughts. I am Pugui. Support me at Patreon. https://www.pat*korean.com/I am Remove the asterisk. There are more than 100 chapter there. Comment. 3 comments. Vote. 1 left. Chapter 110, Chapter 110 go to Roran. After that, White Zetsu and Black Zetsu were also introduced to the others, and White Zetsu's information was completely shared. Asahi asked White Zetsu to share the information with the others. After all, if he is not there, he can just let the others dig people. He also couldn't do everything himself. After knowing the ability of White Zetsu, Onaki and the others felt their hearts chilled in an instant. After all, the feelings of being monitored without knowing is scary. Moreover, there are 100,000 White Zetsu, although not all of them were dispatched, many of them still formed huge intelligence networks throughout the Shinobi world. All their past plans, etc. After Madara brought White Zetsu out, it was already shiningly placed in front of people's eyes, and Onaki, who knew White Zetsu's ability, almost couldn't believe it that this intelligence network is his own now. Onaki directly ordered the spies from all villages to come back. In the future, with White Zetsu, there is no need for his own people to take risks. In the original work, only Naruto, who relied on the power of Kyuubi, was able to discover the existence of White Zetsu. And now, only Kushina can easily find it by relying on Kyuubi's power and her ability as Uzumaki clan's member, and the others are useless even with the Bakugan, so White Zetsu is definitely a natural intelligence gathering expert. In this case, why should he put the people of his village in danger? So Onaki called these people back. However, Onaki did not completely withdraw the intelligence department, but still kept it. Asahi did not say much about it, although he has absolute confidence that White Zetsu will not betray them. In the end, Kaguya needs protection, Also, Asahi doesn't bother to care how Onaki operates his own business. After the intelligence network was changed to White Zetsu, Asahi also continued to wander in the village for a while. From time to time, he went out with the girls and watched movies. The technology of this world is really strange, as such things like movies actually exist. They can even make special effects, so he no longer knows how to describe this strange world. However, some of these movies are actually good, and the special effects are also good, so Asahi can be considered to be addicted to them for a while, but it doesn't really matter. In any world, there are good things and bad things, and some bad movies also make Asahi feel a little skeptical about life. Especially the one based on Senju Hashirama, as the special effects are terrible. At that time, Tsunade almost destroyed the movie theaters, as she didn't want to see her grandfather like this. Anyway, Asahi is having fun. After resting for a few months, Asahi couldn't hold it any longer. The chakra in his body had been completely absorbed, and merged into the new energy. With that, there are no more disadvantages from the past. So at this time, Asahi went directly to Rorin. Rorin's Ryumyaku is a very good thing, as it can travel through space-time. It was already sealed by Minato, but this kind of seal was not a problem for Asahi. It's actually not difficult to get rid of the seal left by Minato, as it is just a very simple seal. Once his kunai is removed, the seal will be directly removed. Of course, not everyone can pull out his kunai, but it's not difficult. Now that this Shinobi world is being played beyond recognition by Asahi, it is very difficult to increase his mastery, and it is amazingly slow to increase it by himself, so he focused on Rorin, because there is a system that when he enters the other times, that world's trajectory still runs according to the original plot, which is equivalent to a parallel world. After handing over Pakura's matters to Onaki, Asahi set off, but he felt that within a short time, Pakura should not be killed by Rosa. After all, Pakura's strength completely threatened Rosa. After arriving at Rorin, this place was already something like a historical site. When the first Ryumyaku broke out, it almost destroyed the entire Rorin, but within Asahi's perception range, he quickly found the seal of the Rorin's Ryumyaku. There shouldn't be any big problems by just removing it like this. After all, Naruto and the others in the original work don't seem to have any serious problems. After thinking about it, Asahi decided to break the seal directly. At the moment the seal was broken, a purple beam of light shot up into the sky, and Asahi disappeared directly from that place. It is because he is already invincible in this world, otherwise, he really won't dare to do this kind of thing casually. Asahi did not faint, and was still awake, but the surroundings had changed in a blink of an eye, but even if it had changed, it still looked like a historical site. Ooh, I can now control the power of the Ryumyaku now. There is something more in Asahi's mind at this moment. He knows that the Ryumyaku can be controlled by him, which means that he can go back if he wants to go back. But if he wants to travel through time again, he needs the Ryumyaku to accumulate energy for a period of time. No wonder that Naruto and others went back directly after defeating Mukid. It was also because Mukid was the first to cross over at that time, so Mukid was the one who held this key, and now, it is I who obtained this key. However, there seems to be a problem with the time he traveled. Rorin has become like this at this time, which means that this is the space-time after Minato and others have performed the mission, so it is really not clear which space-time Asahi is right now. Forget it, let's just go out and ask others first. I wonder which space-time it is. Asahi left Rorin with some doubts, and then went to other Shinobi villages to find out what time it was right now. Soon, Asahi came directly to Tsunagakure. But to his surprise, Tsunagakure didn't have many Shinobi, and not even a single one who has reached Jonin level. Not to mention Jonin, he can't even find many Chunin. What's going on? Asahi was curious and heard a lot of people around him, and then he finally knew which timeline it is. The Fourth Shinobi World War. This is really an unexpected joy. I thought I would have no chance to see it, but did I not exist in this world? Why did the Fourth Shinobi World War break out like the original book? Asahi was a little surprised. After that, he gave money to some people and asked about the situation. Although it was money from another world, there was no money detector in this world, and he soon learned about some major events. Asahi has determined that there is really no him in this timeline. So, is it because of the system? but I don't need to worry too much about it. It happens that I'm in the right place this time. With the Shinobi Alliance, Impure World Reincarnations experts, as well as the White Zetsu's army and Jubi, I believed that I am not asking too much if the percentage of the magic book is directly filled. Soon, Asahi stopped thinking about other things. This is a super experience farm, which is much higher quality than Ryuchi Cave.